You know, so we had a lot to cover up.
So guys,
what's going on?
Greg Kading is out. His lawyer won't let him do it, so
we've been waiting around for Kading all day, and
yeah, and now
he's not
he's a
coming.
no-show.
Really, I wanted to talk to him because there's so much to ask him.
Yeah.
Puffy was going up the stairs, and he said, I don't care if Tupac died, I don't care if Biggie gotta die, and I don't care if Suge gotta go to prison for the rest of his life.
We got a confession letter on how everything went down and who's responsible.
Now, getting back to Russell was following in the footsteps of his dad, and he was able to work through the LAPD and have all the things that had to be done within the LAPD. He certainly knew the streets very well, and circumstances in his case were far more tragic because he was killed in the line of duty.
If that's the case, did Tupac life mean anything? Because they never saw that case. Sometimes if you saw the first case, you might have saw the second case. But that never happened, correct?
Yep.
But he did testify reluctantly. The Death Row Records security chief Reggie Wright Jr. once told him, quote, "We're going to get those mothers who downed Pac."
Ice and I, we've heard consistently, Suge, that you're the person behind the hit on Biggie.
Well, they looked at y'all and told y'all a fat-ass lie.
A reportedly missing photograph and former police chief Bernard Park's daughter came up during testimony today in the wrongful death lawsuit filed against the city by murdered rap star Biggie Smalls' mother.
That, to me, was probably another motive for Chief Parks to want to squash a lot of the information. There was an effort to keep a lot of the information away from the public.
This declaration from a jailhouse informant named Kenny Boagni links crooked LAPD officers David Mack and Rafael Perez to the murder of rap star Biggie Smalls.
Okay. Right? You see, Suge was willing to say, I didn't know those two cops, but maybe Reggie knew them.
Never met those dudes. They never worked for me. They knew Reggie right. They didn't know me.
He always would say, those are Reggie people.
And Reggie was fast to say, I didn't know them either.
I was just interested in why he would point the finger at Suge so quick. He wouldn't say it to you, but he definitely pointed it. We call that dry snitching.
That Perez told how he worked security for Death Row Records the night Biggie Smalls was assassinated, and how he and Mac used cell phones to set up the hit. Boagni now says he was instructed by an LAPD detective to share his story with no one else investigating Biggie's murder. Judge Florence Marie Cooper says LAPD may be involved in what she calls deliberate and intentional concealment of information. Jailhouse informant Kenny Boagni ties former LAPD officers David Mack and Rafael Perez to the murder of rap star Biggie Smalls. LAPD has withheld reams of other evidence as well, including at least 2 other jailhouse statements implicating dirty cops Mack and Perez in Biggie's murder. 1,000 pages of information were withheld describing Mack and Perez's involvement in Biggie's murder. 3 different jailhouse informants who offered to wear a wire were all turned down by LAPD. A wire, say informants, that could have caught jailed officer Perez boasting about his involvement with Death Row Records and the Biggie Smalls murder. Judge Florence Marie Cooper lists all the new information she says links former crooked LAPD officers David Mack and Rafael Perez to the murder of Biggie Smalls. The sheer volume of the information, says the judge, belies any LAPD argument that it comes from just another jailhouse informant.
Murder is pretty simple. The first person you go after is the spouse.
Perez and them was all involved. They were trying to kill me too, but see, because Perez and Reg was good friends, and Perez and Sarita and Reg is great friends, and so all those 3 together was trying to plot. Those guys, if you go back and watch the film, they was already stalking Pac, watching him. So that just tipped the iceberg when something happened. But there was a plan already to do something to him. Orlando wasn't even the shooter, you know? He was actually a good kid too, you know? I'm quite sure if they saw the first one, they would saw the second one, because it's the same circle of people.
You got a lot to cover up, y'all.
Freudian slip.
You got a lot to cover up.
This is part 4 of the Russell Poole theory. And now we're going to talk about the thieves are inside of death row records. You have Rafael Perez convicted of stealing evidence out of evidence lockers. You have David Mack convicted of robbing a Bank of America broad daylight with 2 accomplices. And you have Kevin Gaines having most likely stolen the evidence in the Snoop Dogg murder trial. You have Reggie Wright Jr., who's known to rob drug dealers. He's known as, when he was a jailer, of robbing the inmates of their money. And so we have thieves now inside of death row records. And Reggie Wright Sr. always wants to know about where the busts are going to happen the night before the busts happen so that there could be a pre-raid done. And we know in the aftermath of the Tupac murder that there was a pre-raid that was done the day before, and the day before the raid actually happens when they round up Orlando Anderson and other people. There's a pre-raid that happens, so they pretty much know what they're going to get when they go out and do the actual raid. And so we have thievery happening. Why is this important? Well, you have thieves inside of death row records, and the temptation of being able to take down that big of a score is way too much for these thieves. They have to do it. They have to take down this score. And how do we know that that Compton Police and LAPD were working together? Well, in the Snoop Dogg murder trial, we know that the Compton Police and the LAPD were both intimidating the witnesses in the case. Sometimes it was just LAPD, sometimes it was just Compton Police, and sometimes both would show up at different times to intimidate the witnesses, to persuade them not to testify in that case. We also have a pattern here. Filberto Cuesta is an amazing LAPD officer who innocently drives into a neighborhood and gets ambushed. And why did he drive into that neighborhood and get ambushed? Well, the drug dealer that was in that neighborhood had been robbed previously. And so the next cop that came in got the brunt of having a drug dealer robbed. When an LAPD cop robs a drug dealer, it changes the rules of engagement. And that's why it puts other officers' lives in danger. And Filberto Cuesta made the ultimate sacrifice by laying down his life in the service of all of us, because drug dealers had been robbed by LAPD cops. Well, the same thing happens in Compton. We have Burrell and McDonald, who are also gunned down. And why were they gunned down? Because the drug dealers had been robbed by Compton Police. And so the next time the other Compton Police roll into the neighborhood, they suffer the consequences and are gunned down and murdered in cold blood. And Reggie Wright, known to be a thief. Rafael Perez, known to be a thief. David Mack, known to be a thief. And make no mistake about it, these guys were all thick as thieves. And this is an incendiary situation for death row records. And David Kenner's got the rift with Suge Knight. So now it's just a question of time before things start to bubble up and this team starts to come together to create the explosive situation that comes when Tupac Shakur shows up at Death Row Records. More later.
Murder is pretty simple. The first person you go after is the spouse.
All the artists at Death Row was willing to come with me.
David Mack worked for you, right?
No, ma'am.
Never?
Never met him, never heard of him. Didn't know who he was until the accusations that he possibly did work for me And that's been investigated by LAPD and all of that.
Why would I want a paper trail when I never brought him around nowhere? So if I'm gonna hide him in secret, you think I'm gonna let somebody catch a paper trail? They were paid cash by Snoop.
Perez and them was all involved. They were trying to kill me too, but see, because Perez and Reg was good friends, and Perez and Sarita and Reg is great friends, and so all those three together was trying to plot.
How about Rafael Perez?
Never heard of him until all the incidents happened.
Those guys, if you go back and watch the film, they was already stalking Pac, watching him. So that just tipped the iceberg when something happened. But there was a plan already to do something to him.
So why does everyone keep telling me that David Mack was working for you?
Yeah. I never heard that.
You've never heard that?
That he worked for me.
You've never heard that?
Wait a minute. Let me clear that up. I'm saying by anyone that's credible that will work around there or anything. Like I said, that was all investigated by LAPD, and I turned over my payroll, everything.
You always attack. Those are Reggie people.
Orlando wasn't even the shooter, you know? He was actually a good kid, too, you know? I'm quite sure they saw the first one, they saw the second one, because it's the same circle of people.
You got a lot to cover up, y'all.
Freudian slip.
You got a lot to cover up.
It's the same people, same circle of people. It have nothing to do with me, you know?